Singapore, close to 80 Singaporeans have been detained under the Internal Security Act for terrorism-related activities since 2002, according to the latest figures from the Ministry of Home Affairs, MHA. These statistics are just the most recent indicators of how the terror threat to Singapore continues to remain at its highest levels in years, despite Islamic State, IS, losses in the Middle East and the defeat of IS-linked militants in Marawi in the Philippines. Security agencies in the regional countries have equally been ramping up their efforts to counter, and have been arresting a lot of people, said Home Affairs Minister K. Shanmugam in an interview with Channel News Asia. We have been arresting more people. So I would say that the threats had increased substantially a few years ago, and they continue at a high level. And we must expect that as the kinetic fighting in the Middle East dies down, you will expect them to pop up in other places including Southeast Asia. Key to the threat lies in effective use of online propaganda by militants, aimed squarely at the Malay Muslim community in Singapore and the region. In September, a propaganda video featuring Singaporean militant Megat Shaitan Abdul Samad came to light, where he called on viewers to join IS fighters in the Middle East and East Asia. Jihadist publications have also identified Singapore as a key target for attack, according to the MHA's inaugural Terrorism Threat Assessment Report released in July. And despite Singapore's emphasis on racial and religious harmony, the period of time it takes to become radicalized is also getting shorter, said Mr. Shanmugam. Now sometimes it's a matter of days. Prior to that, there is exposure to a line of thought, a type of religious teaching that predisposes one towards becoming radicalized. And the kind of people you come in contact with, the thoughts they convey to you. That's a problem all over the world, including Singapore. Stepped up security faced with threats from beyond and within Singapore's borders, the Singapore police force has restructured its systems and stepped up its capabilities in recent months. The efforts to improve the effectiveness of the police force will continue into 2018, said Director of Operations, Assistant Commissioner, AC, Hao Kwong-wee. More manpower has been dedicated to specialized units that could go toe-to-toe with armed terrorist aggressors, such as the emergency response teams, rapid deployment troops, and the recently deployed in-situ reaction teams. Even frontline officers, who are more likely to fight crime than heavily armed terrorists, have seen their traditional revolvers replaced with automatic pistols capable of greater firepower since April. We will continue to be plugged into what is happening globally and regionally, the threats that we face, the types of terror attacks that are happening, said AC Hao. As we observed in recent times, terrorists have started to use common tools, knives, vehicles, for their attacks, and we have to be prepared to respond to such attacks in Singapore. We look at what overseas forces do in response to attacks in their country, in London, in New York, in Paris.